introduce to you a version 3 of my tuning stabilizer, which I'm going to install on this guitar. As you can see, this is the B50 licensed version of a Bigsby, and the string angle coming over that bridge is really steep, and this guitar has almost no chance of staying in tune. It is kind of a cheaper China-made guitar that I did buy just for this purpose. My previous tuning stabilizer for the B50 and B70 utilized the axle that goes through this roller to attach the tuning stabilizer on. The limitation with that was that because the B50 and B70 has a much larger axle, the gap between the axle and the new stabilizer that you probably hopefully watched in the previous videos, that gap really limited the gauge of strings you could use on the guitar. With a B5 or B7, the axle is much smaller in diameter. It does not utilize these plastic bushings, and so there's a larger gap between the axle and the stabilizer, allowing any size strings, really. So this video is particularly for users of the licensed versions. And this the new version that I'm going to show you attaches a little bit differently, so therefore I figured I'd better make a video. It goes kind of like this. So this is version 3, and it will attach with these little Allen screws as opposed to an axle going all the way through. And I will show you how that will install on this guitar. So the first thing you'll have to do is remove the axle here. And I've taken the liberty of already removing the clip that's so difficult to get off. As long as your strings are loose, you'll be able to get this axle out once the clip is removed. You can just take a screwdriver and push it out and pull it. For the installation of the new one, we will be getting rid of the plastic bushings that are in there. So now, what you will definitely have to make sure that your strings are good and loose for this operation. Taking them all the way off might even be better, but I think if I just keep them loose and remove that spring, I might have enough play in that to get the new one in. So just as a sidebar, this is the original version that I had, and you can see that there's just that gap can sometimes be troubling. I did a modification on this axle that if you were to put a groove right under the 6th string, you could still use this version with heavier strings. But I do want to go ahead and show you version 3 here that gives no limitation, and it's a pretty nice look. So check it out. So version 3 comes with these Allen-headed screws that if you take that out and take the nylon bushing from both sides, and what you'll want to do is slide those into the hole that the other plastic bushings came out of. And then, like I said, hopefully with the strings still on, I'll be able to get this in there. If not, I'll edit this out and start all over again. You will need a 9/64 Allen wrench, which seems to be the most uncommon one out of the set. So warning, you want to get one before you attempt this. So if you then put the screw into the hole, so they say, and get it started on one side. Make sure it's sticking through enough. Be careful not to scratch the body of your guitar with the key. Alright. Then the other side, through the bushing into the hole. So, once you get them started, then you can carefully tighten them up. They don't have to be very tight, just a little bit snug. And that ought to do it. So now you see we don't have that pesky axle, limiting the string gauge, and we can get the spring back in there. We'll get everything lined up, tighten the strings a little bit so you can have a look at it. So you'll see what we got here is a much shallower string break angle. You can see the Allen attaching screw in there. As the strings pass under, makes for a much smoother operation. And there you have it. That's the version 3 of the Brix Big Fix.